Hello everyone, welcome to New Canaan Library. My name is Heather Cimino and I coordinate adult programs here. Thank you for braving the rain. It seems like it's picking up, so hopefully the hour that you sit here and it'll go through and it'll be all good. Before we get started, if you could take a minute to silence your cell phones and notice the exits on your right and left. So I have 3 children that went through the New Canaan public school systems, K through 12, and so I know firsthand how stressful this process can be. Essay writing and the whole application process and picking a college. But somehow we lived through it, and all 3 of them got into college. However, I wish I had the guidance of this evening's speaker, Stacey Brook. Stacey's here to tell us about her new book, which is called The Uncommon College Essay, An Approachable Guide to an Intimidating Process. She's a renowned essay expert and the founder and chief advisor of College Essay Advisors. Stacey Brook shares the purpose and the potential of a college essay. She also provides a step-by-step approach to the essay writing process. But most importantly, at least from my perspective, it was that she emphasizes that the essays are authentic and that they're personal. So with that, our wonderful partner, Elm Street Books, is here with Stacey's book if you wish to buy one and or get one signed, which we'll do after the lecture. So please help me welcome Stacey Brook.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Should I just use this one?
You can.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Perfect. Hi, I'm Stacey Brook. I'm the founder and chief advisor at College Essay Advisors. That was a really lovely introduction. Thank you so much. And I am here to tell you a little bit about the college essay writing process, hopefully just give you some foundational understanding of what it takes to write one of these things, and definitely answer some questions that you might have at some point, because I'm sure you have plenty of those. So what I'm hoping you'll walk away with today is a demystification of the Common App essay, the prompts. I'm going to explain to you what admissions officers are really looking for versus what you think admissions officers are looking for. And I'm going to help you figure out how to turn your experiences, your authentic experiences, into a compelling college admissions essay. This is our agenda. We are going to go over all of these things. But first, who am I? I'm Stacey Brook. I am a writer of personal essays in my own personal time. It's a form that I really love. I've also worked with and taught teenagers for many years, so this is sort of a natural melding of all of my interests, and I've been doing this for over 20 years now. So I have a lot of insight into the process, and it's just one of the things I nerd out about and love to do. Okay, so can I get a survey? Who here is a junior or a parent of a junior? Ooh, we got some planners. Senior or a parent of a senior? Anyone in lower grades? Guys, I love this so much. Love the planning. It's going to help. But also for the seniors and senior parents, I've got you. We're good. Okay, so I don't know how much any of you know about the Common Application or the elements of the application, but the Common Application is a way for students to use one platform to apply to many schools. And it contains ways to apply to a ton of the places that you or your child will apply to, and it consists of 2 big opportunities to shine through your writing. One is the Common Application essay, or the personal statement. That's what people typically think about when they think about the college essay. 650 words. Who are you? Why do you do what you do? What makes you you? Tell us what's special about you, etc. And then there are supplemental essays that differ from school to school. We'll talk about what those are as well, but we're gonna first talk about the Common App essay, which is the one that I think people worry about the most. What is it? So this is according to the instructions on the Common App, which opened August 1st for anyone who's applying this year in the back row. So this essay demonstrates your ability to write clearly and concisely on a selected topic and helps you distinguish yourself in your own voice. This is what the Common App is literally telling you to do. It's a chance to help admissions get to know you beyond your courses, grades, and test scores. But what are you really trying to accomplish? That's what they say you're trying to accomplish. How do we decode that? This is an opportunity for you to reveal new information about yourself to admissions. So not the summaries of your activities that are going to be in your activity section. We're not going to talk about your grades or your test scores, which admissions is already going to have. How can we show them the intangibles, your personality, the things that are hard to glean from the application already? You're going to showcase your background, your worldview, character traits. Again, things that are hard, nay, impossible for an admissions officer to know if you don't tell them. This one is really important. You're going to share how you'll be a valuable community member, and not by saying, I will be a valuable community member because, but by demonstrating the things about you that make you you and that would entice an admissions officer to make you a part of their student body because you have something to offer, because you're a leader, because you're generous, because you're creative, etc. And you're going to want to be memorable, which is so easy, very easy. We're going to show you how to do that. But first, let's talk about the life of an admissions officer. Why is it so hard to make an impression? Because they're reading so many of these essays, so many of them in such a short period of time, literally over 1,000 applications, about 40 per day, about 7 minutes per application, 2 to 3 minutes per personal statement. So for 650 words. So what you write needs to be clear. It needs to be concise. It needs to grip someone immediately. We don't want this to be something that's hard to crack open or something that is flowery or wordy beyond immediate grasp, because admissions is not going to take the time to unpack it. They don't have it. And also, I think that entertainment value, that be memorable note from the last slide is important here, because how do you break through the noise when someone is reading this many essays in a row? A lot of them are boring, stone cold boring. How can yours not be that? So some Common App essay basics. There are 7 prompt choices. This has been the way it's been for many years now. It will likely be this way next year. It is definitely this way this year. The Common App prompts are usually confirmed around March of every year, so you'll have an idea of what they are and can start to plan in advance. However, the prompts don't really make that much of a difference. What makes a difference is the story that you want to tell to admissions, and oftentimes when you identify something that's worth saying, it will back into multiple prompts. You only have to respond to one. I've had a student who responded to all 7. That was like really a lot of extra credit to do. I didn't know how to award the extra credit. There was nothing to give to that person aside from a pat on the back. You only need to pick one. 650 words for that essay. It sounds like a lot when you say it out loud. It is absolutely not enough space you're going to find to do all the things you want to do. It's about a page and change. But even though you're going to want to say more than you think you have space for, it actually does work as like a nice tight space for a compact story for you to tell. And we're going to work on this essay first, regardless of what any of the schools that you're applying to have on their list for school-specific essays. The Common App is the one you're going to want to take on because it's the one that goes to every single school. You're going to want to use your most powerful story here, the thing that you really want admissions to know. This is where it goes. So we're going to review the prompts because I find them to be helpful for inspiration, even though I don't think you necessarily need to create an essay in answer to one of these prompts necessarily, but it's helpful to get a sense of what admissions is really looking for. So prompt number 1, I shorthand call the background essay. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. So, spoiler alert, Prompt number 7 is topic of your choice. So no matter what you write about, it's going to fit within the confines of this prompt. But before topic of your choice, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago when that did not exist as an option, the background essay in my mind was topic of your choice. You can fit almost anything into this prompt. But I like it because it gives you some ideas. Background, identity, interest, talent. Those are all really specific angles that you can explore that might give you a sense of what can I talk about that would help admissions unpack who I am on the inside. Are you a tap dancer? Do you juggle? Is there something about your ethnic background that's interesting? Do you identify as a Real Housewives fan? You could really kind of go in a million directions just by using those 4 words. So I like this prompt for that reason. Prompt number 2 is the setback essay. The lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? This one, again, another question that inspires a lot of stories often for people. The one caveat I like to make with this one is you want to focus more on the resilience, how you overcome the challenge, than the challenge itself. So with this prompt, I think you just need to focus on balance. Yes, we want to hear about the challenge or the setback or the failure, but more importantly, where did that take you ultimately? So this is a little bit of kind of a transformation essay, a lesson essay, a growth essay. Here's a challenge essay, a direct challenge essay. Reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea specifically. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? So this one, honestly, kind of rarely chosen by the students that I've worked with in the past because it's a little bit more set in ideas and beliefs, and I think sometimes lends itself to less storytelling, more sort of argument forming essays. But if there is an experience that you have that feels like it's kicked up by this prompt, by all means, go for it. I think people also ask me a lot in relation to this prompt, can I talk about politics? Am I allowed to talk about things that are controversial? And the answer is it depends. I think, and this might come up in Q&A and other places later, but I think that in the current climate and just based on what admissions really wants from students nowadays, where maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have said, stay away from any hot topic. I think now it actually is more compelling to have an opinion about things in the world and to show admissions that you actually are engaged in the universe that surrounds you and that you do care about things. So if you can construct a meaningful argument, I don't think all of that stuff is off limits. But at the same time, I think one test I always tell students to apply to their topic selection is this the thing you want admissions to define you by? This is your big opportunity to tell them one thing about you or one set of things about you. Is that what you want to say? The gratitude essay, this one's kind of new in the last 2 or 3 years. Reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? I'm sorry to the people that have created these prompts at the Common Application. I don't like this prompt because it is about somebody else. Reflect on something that someone else has done for you that has made you happy or thankful. Most of the time, I'm trying to encourage students to talk about things that they've done. That said, gratitude expressed in an essay, things you're grateful for, I love that idea. I think you just have to be careful and make sure that the essay ultimately is about you. If you're super grateful because your grandmother introduced you to Elizabeth Taylor and it inspired you to love classic films and do a deep dive into Cleopatra's life, that could be a really cool essay. As long as you don't make it a lot about grandma. But thanks, Grandma. Elizabeth Taylor's cool. Prompt number 5, the accomplishment essay. Love this one. Discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. This one, like the first one, I love just because it gives you so many clues, like places to dig in and start. So discuss an accomplishment, an event, a realization. Again, this is a little bit of like a transformation essay. They're asking for you to talk about a period of personal growth when you developed a new understanding of something. And what's cool about this one too is that it can be a small accomplishment, it can be a massive accomplishment, it can be a tiny event, it can be something that is more formal, like you speaking on a panel that you never thought you would be able to get on. It can be an accomplishment of getting a promotion at your first job. So I think there are lots of opportunities here to kind of explore what has helped you grow as a human. So this is a good one to think about, I think. This one's my favorite. Prompt number 6, the passion essay. Also, don't listen to me in terms of my favorites. Pick the ones you like. But I love this one because I nerd out on a ton of stuff. Describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? You could write your Grandma Cleopatra essay and back it into this prompt too, which, by the way, is, as I was mentioning before, an indicator that maybe you're onto something, just in terms of something that's showcasing your personality, that's showing who you are as a human. Are you super curious? Are you engaged in history and entertainment? Are you family oriented? Those are the kinds of things that are built into stories like that. And the reason that they back into so many of these prompts is because they're showcasing who you are as a human and the kind of enthusiasm that you'll bring to campus. So if you have a passion, something that you really love learning about, and it doesn't have to be academic. In fact, some of the most interesting versions of this essay that I've worked on with students have not been academic. This is kind of a fun one to explore. Topic of your choice. Anything you write fits in this. That doesn't mean anything you think about writing is going to be good, but you absolutely can put any of it under this prompt. And I think ultimately what admissions is really saying, what the Common App is saying by offering this to you, is that you really do have free reign. Don't limit yourself in terms of what you think you could or should write about. The truth is, admissions isn't looking for something highly specific from any of their students. I get asked all the time, what does admissions respond to? Do you think it would be better if I did this or this? And the answer is, what's best is what feels most authentic to you. What feels, when you read it back to yourself, what makes you say, that's totally me? Or like, if your mom reads your essay, she better say like, oh, that's Stacey on the page right there. That's absolutely you. That's what matters the most, really and truly. Yes, no. Yes, you just check it off when you're submitting. You have to tell them, but they don't care at all which one you pick. There's no like preferential treatment to people who pick a topic nobody else picks. Honestly, half the time they don't even look and see which one you've chosen. They just dive right into the essay to see, are you interesting? Do I care about this person at all? But yes, you do pick. Which is nice actually too, because I think, and I'm going to talk about backwards brainstorming literally right now, but most of the time I work with students where brainstorming, thinking about what are some amazing topics that we can work with first, looking at the prompts later, and then if there is that nice click fit in the backwards direction, it usually means you've hit on something that works really well. So I think having to make that choice at the end is confirmation that you've actually written a story that's worth submitting. And these are the phases so I have written this book. It outlines a process I've been using for 20 plus years with students. I call it the Uncommon College Essay Writing Process. It consists of 4 steps. My advisors and I do this with every single person we work with, and you can do it too. if you want. You can buy the book. There are also a ton of resources on the website that explain how to do this. But I think the goal of me generating this process was to make the process of writing the essay more digestible, easier, break it down into pieces that don't feel so overwhelming. The blank page is so overwhelming, even for me. And I've been writing for my entire life, and the blank page is scary. So how can we make it less scary? This is my solution. So first, we're gonna try to figure out what you're gonna write about. And before you even think about the prompts, we know what they are because we just went through them, so you have an idea. But ignore the prompts for a second and think about what are the experiences in your life that are compelling. What are the stories that come up at the dinner table over and over again? Why are those the stories that are coming up? What about that narrative that you tell over and over again makes it compelling? Free association lists, visual cues. I tell people to walk around their houses and pick up objects and try to think about, why is this here? Why is this important to me? Where did we get this? What does this say about us as a family? Just pulling inspiration from the world, trying to figure out ultimately what that might say about you or what you might want to say about yourself, just using things as inspiration. And then at the end, you back into one of the prompts that you need to choose, but that also helps you confirm that you're working with a story that holds water. Once you decide what you want to write about, then you're not going to write the essay. You're not going to sit down and write 650 words, because I find that most people feel compelled to summarize in a way that fails to capture the details and the anecdotes and the magic that brings stories to life. If you feel constricted to a small space, often you're going to try to get the whole story down from start to finish, but that's not necessarily the most interesting way to tell the story. A lot of times, details and the showing of the story comes out if you give yourself more space to play. So my suggestion is, with a powerful topic in hand, think about what are some of the things someone would want to know about this topic, and write those questions down. Like, when did your grandmother first tell you who Elizabeth Taylor was? Who was Elizabeth Taylor? Why is she even famous? Why did Taylor Swift write a song about her? This is where this is coming from, by the way. Just listen to this song. Why does Cleopatra appeal to you so much after having watched that film with your grandmother? Just trying to unpack the actual stories within the story, and we'll pull out details that ultimately make for unexpected openings, really fun, interesting ways to tie the story together, and some of the reflection that, again, doesn't come when you're trying to squeeze something into a very small space. So oftentimes, I think this is the most important part of the process, and the one that you should give the most time to. But sometimes when I work with students, they free write 2,000 words, and we know we only have 650, but it gives us choices, it gives you options, it gives you things that you can further expand on, or that you can tweak or adjust, or maybe you see like an interesting angle that you might not have seen if you didn't kind of let go of all the tethers and just move in whatever direction your heart pushed you in when you answered these questions. So free writing, super important step, and I think that's where you trick yourself into writing the essay. Then you sculpt your story. So we have chaos on the page, so many words, lots of different stories. What do we do with all of that? We sit and we think about, okay, now what's the order I want to tell this in? Is there a narrative structure that will help someone understand what I'm trying to say and bring them from start to finish with momentum, with energy? How can you provide clarity? How can you ensure a message is weaved all the way through so that by the time someone gets to the end of the essay, they say, oh, this person is historically minded, they're family oriented, they're curious, they're silly, they're delighted by things. this is where you really try to home in on what are you trying to say to admissions. And sometimes this takes the form of making an outline. Sometimes it's about just literally pulling things from your free writes and moving them into an order that starts to feel a little more like an essay. This is where your voice gets sharpened and where the story takes shape. And then you polish to perfection and you go over it as many times as you need to. Once you feel like you have the core of the story, then you can start to cut things and say goodbye to your darlings and make some tough choices, because then this is where 650 words really does start to feel like, not enough space. But that's okay. You have the longer versions of your essay in the in your former Google Docs and your version history, so you know that you once wrote beautiful words that you had to cut, but you pull out as much as you need to. You get things down to 650 words. In a perfect world, every single thing that is left on that page is working really hard for you in terms of communicating something to admissions. Not a single sentence should be wasted. You won't want to waste a sentence. You don't have that much space. So I think ultimately one of the tests you'll do when you're reading through your essay at the end is there fluff here? Could I say something else about myself? If I add an additional detail, will it denote that, like, not only do I love all the things I'm telling them I love, but I also can cook. I also love food. I also love travel, or whatever else you might kind of stuff in there. So this is a place where you polish and you make sure that the essay is saying as much as it can possibly say. This is my book. All those things. Yes.
Okay, so you talked about like the overwhelming aspect, like admission officers have got like 40 a day, isn't that?
Yeah.
Last week, you know, like with the advent of all AI and all
Yeah.
that, how much is being fed now through like ChatGPT, like certain like trite comments, like I'm changing the world, and I went backpacking across whatever, and I fed people in Nepal, and you know, like
Yeah.
for the right reasons and the wrong reasons. What are some of the, you know, faux pas, if you will?
Right.
You're talking about, obviously you ask a problem, you're like, I did this, I did that. That sounds really bad, right? We wouldn't even want to read it.
Right.
As non-admission officers.
Mm-hmm.
Are some things evolving now that there's advent of AI? Like some things that are changing the way admission officers look at what they read?
I think that the state AI is in right now, one of the things it is not very good at is writing personal content. It can't see into your head. It doesn't understand. Until we have the chip implanted, you have to provide the information for AI.
But like admission officers, are they utilizing that? Like, are they taking those tests?
No. They're not using AI to analyze the essays at all. Absolutely not. But I think that if students are using it, they can tell right away. And then counter to this too, I just had a parent marked something up in an essay that I was working with a student on that said she used like a group of three to describe something in in one of her essays, like Taylor Swift songs like Elizabeth Taylor and Shake It Off and whatever else the third one was. And mom said, AI uses groups of three all the time. That's like one of the things that people flag. And I said, yeah, it does it because it's good storytelling. And that has been like, that rhythm has been part of great storytelling since the beginning of time. So we're not going to change the way that we express ourselves just because AI is trying to mimic the way that we write. But if groups of three appear every 2 sentences, admissions it will feel like something is off and it won't feel like human writing. So I think I'm having this like constant push-pull debate with people about how much am I trying to intentionally avoid making my essay sound like what I believe AI is producing. And my answer is just write the essay yourself and submit it. You know it's not AI. That's literally the best way that you can prevent an admissions officer from thinking your essay was created by a machine, is to do it yourself. And we're going to come on AI a little bit later in the presentation, but I have way more things to say, and I know I'm answering not even your question at this point, but admissions officers are not using AI to assess these in the same way that like headhunters are putting everything through AI and looking for keywords and things like that. That's not happening in these contexts at all. Will that happen in the future? Probably. And then we can all cry together. This is my book. The things that I just went through are in here. Signs you're on the right track. So how do you know if you're writing about something admissions wants to hear? Again, I think people have a conception of what they think admissions wants to know. What do they really want from you? So the right topic choice will feel unmistakably yours. No one else is going to drop it in their application because no one else's grandmother was that obsessed with Elizabeth Taylor. That's just, or at least nobody is going to think about it in the same way that you are. I always say, like, if you dropped your essay on the ground and someone picked it up, would a random person in your school be like, this is Stacey's, this is definitely Stacey's. It's got to be that distinct to you. It points to something deeper, a value, a quality, a perspective, a tension, a question. I'm a performative person. That would probably be in my Elizabeth Taylor essay. Are you expressive? Are you not a loud leader? Are you someone who leads quietly from behind the scenes? Like, what are the qualities ultimately that make you successful at what you do? And you don't have to be the loudest person in the room. You don't have to lead 6,000 clubs for an admissions officer to think you're worth something, for a school to want you. They want a diverse population that comes with a wide variety of skills. So tell them what you're good at. And if you represent yourself accurately, it's going to line up with all of the things your recommendations say, with your activity list and the positions you actually hold. You shouldn't be pretending to be anything other than who you are, because it won't feel real. Admissions does have a whole bunch of data on you already, and when you're honest and you're sincere and you're not trying to play to what you think somebody wants, that story carries through the whole application, and that's what wins admissions over, honestly. The right topic gives you something to unpack. If you get to those free writing questions, if you get to that phase and you're stuck, maybe you haven't found it yet. If it's not pouring out of you in some way when you're breaking things down and asking yourself to explain things like you would explain to a best friend, I say sometimes, like, okay, give yourself a bunch of questions and then write an email to like your camp friend, write an email to someone you haven't seen in a long time, and like tell them all about the thing. And if you can't do that in that conversational voice with some flow, maybe you need to think about something else. And will this help admissions imagine you on campus? Again, this is pointing to the qualities that will make you a contributor. And it doesn't have to be the obvious things, like leadership, which comes up like constantly all the time. Parents are like, but it doesn't show my son or daughter is a leader. But that's not every person. That's not every personality. Sometimes people are quiet achievers. Sometimes they are like the most incredible collaborative team members. Like, who are you? What do you bring? It's going to contribute to campus somehow. You just have to be able to articulate that and prove it with a story. Okay, so once you do start writing, there are a few key ways. You know your essay is working. You're revealing something new to admissions. Some of these are going to sound familiar. It sounds natural out loud. I like this one because I think one of the things that a trap that students fall into a lot, and it's not their fault because this is the first time most students are writing this kind of personal essay assignment, is having language that's too buttoned up. If you're used to writing in an academic voice, sometimes it's hard to relax yourself, but you do want this to be conversational and casual and a little bit looser, a little bit friendlier. Are you going to use like all of your TikTok shorthand? Probably not. But I was just debating whether or not to let somebody keep the word fit like, I like your fit in an essay the other day. I mean, it's real. Some of it's real. So, like, there are reasons to break the rules and do some fun stuff. But ultimately, you want this to be casual, conversational, but also polished and sophisticated and pretty much the best piece of writing you've ever written. No pressure. Just kidding. For science. So another sign your essay idea is working. You have specific details to share. So anecdotes, moments. Essentially, you have to be able to show and not just tell us. You can't just say, I'm amazing at teamwork. You have to tell me how ultimately you were willing to let somebody else take the credit for something in this way, or you couldn't have gotten like this project done without the combination of your creativity and somebody else's like talent for execution. You can summarize the takeaway in 2 sentences. So you really should be able to tie it up in a bow where ultimately you can say like my introduction to like pop culture through my grandmother like has made me a person who is creative, expressive, and who like wants to share culture with others, or something along those lines. I'm riffing really hard right now, but you want to be able to ultimately kind of pack in what's the essay about, and then what do you want admissions to know about you because of what you've been writing about. You should be able to explain that pretty clearly at the end. Okay, memorable opening lines and paragraphs. The opening line is so important. Also, I just love opening lines so much. It's one of the things that I love to write the most for myself. But these are some of my favorites. This one I bring up all the time because this story is just nuts. But most people have 10 toes, but my dad only has 5. He did. He only had 5 toes. He lost the other 5 from frostbite. Crazy story. This student's essay was about how taking risks with his father. He learned how to mountain climb and be part of the outdoors with his father, but his father was a person who wasn't a calculated risk taker, and he learned to be a calculated risk taker and to assess a situation more clearly because of some of his father's past mistakes that left his father with only 5 toes. Example number 2, every time I step onto the ice, my goal is to make people doubt their eyesight. This is a student who was an ice skater and ultimately became an ophthalmologist and had an eye condition. So there was a lot of kind of braiding and weaving of those themes throughout the essay, but she teased it all in this first line, and the reward of that, of someone realizing that that's what she does as you read through the essay, is something that really keeps you in the story. Okay, pitfalls to watch for related to the essay in general. So you don't want the essay to sound like a regurgitation of your resume. I say, like, you don't want to cannibalize your resume for really any of your essays. You have an activity section in the Common Application. You have 10 spots to summarize in 150 characters each. It's like no space at all. It's like a sentence to talk about what you've done over the last 4 years of your academic life outside of the classroom. And so that's going to include the roles you've held, the titles you've held. There's also an honors and awards section where you can outline the things that you've accomplished. If you're going to write about any of those things, you have to give an expanded understanding to admissions of what those things are. You don't need to write how many hours you've spent doing your volunteer work. You don't need to tell admissions about the awards you've won while you were doing it. What they want to know, what's helpful for them to know, is, why are you doing this? How did you serve the community? What were your experiences like? What were your connections with other people like? You have to dig deeper. if you've been staring at a blank screen for weeks, that we would call that a pitfall. You got to kickstart the process in a more inspiring way. And I think sometimes people really just get stuck on trying to choose the perfect topic just right. Just get something down. 99% of the time, if you just start to spit things out, something will come and grab you. But if you let the blank page intimidate you, it will do that for some time. And then again, I've been saying this sort of naturally throughout, but don't think about what admissions wants to hear or what you think admissions wants to hear. What they want to hear is what you have to say about yourself that's real and compelling. Okay, that's the personal statement. I'm going to answer a ton of questions at the end. I'm going to move on to school-specific supplements just so you have an idea of what the strategy is for those and what the difference is between the personal statement and these other school-specific essays. So the personal statement is that one 650-word essay. You share it across pretty much all schools. There are exceptions, which I'll talk about later, for colleges that aren't on the Common Application, just to drive you nuts. But most of the schools you apply to will be on the Common App and have that 650-word essay. It's the chance for you to reveal your perspective and for you to tell your largest, most important story, and you're going to work on it before you work on anything else. The supplements are school-specific. So every school won't have supplements. Some of them do not have school-specific essays. Over the course of the summer before you apply, schools will start to confirm whether or not they're going to have additional essays, often on their blogs, social media. They'll tell you probably many weeks in advance of August 1st, which is when the new Common Application goes live every year. And at that point, all of the school's applications are open for you to check out, and then you'll really see what everybody has assigned if they haven't told you independently on their websites already. But there are a lot of school-specific supplements, especially for higher level schools, where I think a lot of these institutions assign them a little bit as a barrier to entry. You really have to care about going to University of Chicago to write 2 additional 650-word essays on top of the personal statement. So, and there are some schools that are known for their quirky prompts, and I think every school has their own kind of special agenda with the supplements. And a lot of them, honestly, are very useful to admissions, and we'll talk about why. But these are going to be school-specific, so different for every school. They're going to have different word counts and different prompts, obviously. And these are going to most of the time, help show fit with the school, not just what you bring to any school, but what you would bring to the school you're applying to in this moment specifically, and how you fit within their community. And the supplements shouldn't repeat what's on the personal statement. They shouldn't repeat what's on the application. This is a chance for you to explore something totally new in writing. So we're going to start drafting these as early as we can, which means for me, schedule-wise, and we're going to get to this in a little bit too, I like to have the personal statement somewhere near done around now, so that on August 1st, when the Common App goes live, you can start working on school-specific supplements. The first deadlines for early decision, early admission are October 15th. And there are some schools that have rolling admission, like Wake Forest has rolling admissions. You can literally hear back from them 4 weeks after you submit, and your chances of getting in are literally better if you submit early, because there are more spots open. So anything you can do to be prepared to start working on supplements when they're confirmed, you should do. The prompts vary widely. Some of them ask about your interests. There are supplements that ask about communities, your experiences. So we're going to take a look at some of the specific prompts. The why essays, there are a lot of variations on what I call a why essay, which basically asks, why do you want to go here? What do you want to do when you get here? Those, again, are ones that really emphasize fit between a student and a school, a student and the program, a program and what a student has already focused on, or accomplished. So those are ones to look out for. And before you even start any of this, what I would want you to do is make a list of all the schools you're applying to, pull all of the prompts, and then see where is there overlap. How can I attack this list of school-specific essays in the most strategic way possible?
Excuse me, Stacey?
Yeah.
Just want to let you know we have about 5 more minutes.
Okay.
So that we have time to
Yes,
do Q&A.
no problem.
Okay.
No problem. So what we're going to do for the supplements is you're going to draft from long to short. So if there's a 500-word, why do you want to go to University of Chicago essay? Let's do that one first, so that when you get a 250-word, why UVA, or a 100-word, why Duke, it's much easier to shrink than it is to expand. You're going to start with the prompts that give you the most room to develop your stories, and then you're going to adapt, trim, tailor things. You can recycle. Once you identify stories that are useful for one school, in all likelihood, if they're important enough to tell one college you really want to go to, they're probably going to be important enough to tell the other schools. So a lot of times you'll recycle, you'll tweak, you'll massage, you'll rework, but you'll have kind of a well of topics that you want to talk about with the supplements, that at some point after you've worked on 2 or 3 of them, you're going to have the stories in hand. Very quick note, the UCs, if you're applying in California, they don't have a personal statement. They have 4 personal inquiry questions that are 350 words each. It's a slightly different approach. Same thing for MIT. There are a couple of schools that are not on the Common Application where when you hit them, you try to figure out how can you adapt some of the things from the Common App and fit them into the prompts that are given to you in the spaces that you have to fill. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but it's totally possible to make these adaptations. And can we just get MIT on the Common App already? This is insane. AI. So many people have questions. Are admissions officers running essays through AI detection software? They're not. Should I use it, avoid it completely? I actually don't think you have to avoid it. In fact, my company made an AI product last year called College SAI, where we essentially mimic the process of working with an advisor. There's no generative property whatsoever to the program. It basically helps you brainstorm and find a topic, and then it assigns you free writing questions related to that topic, and just pulls everything into a document for you to play with so that you have all of your ideas in the same place, and gives you suggestions but doesn't do a single edit for you. Just says, what if you expanded here? This grammar looks not so right here. You want to check this. So there are a lot, and those are things that ChatGPT can also do for you, that Claude can do for you. You can use AI to your benefit, but use it ethically. Don't use it to create your story. Also, the story's not going to be good if you don't give it the right details. You have to dig around in here first. Could AI use impact my chances? I think it can if you use it to create an essay that sucks. I answered these. This is College SAI. If you're interested, you can try the product for free. It's pretty awesome. We put a lot of energy into it, and I do think that if you're stuck, it could totally help. Okay, so what actually matters before senior year? You're not writing what you think admissions wants to hear. You're not going to draft without thinking about how the narrative is going to really hit with admissions. You're definitely not going to submit early just to be done. I would say that I would hold, unless you have a rolling admissions deadline or you have an EA or ED deadline, you should hold on to all of your essays until you have written most of them. So if you make a change in a later version, you can apply it to the earlier versions. Nothing like submitting to your top choice just to get it in to find, oh, I made the essay better later. The real goal, you want to explore the Common App as soon as you can. Organize your ideas, draft authentically. Avoid burnout, start early. College essay timeline, the Common App opens August 1st. August, I would say, honestly, long before August, you should probably start thinking about brainstorming your topic and getting some writing down on the page. I would like for people, this is a very I actually think this timeline is a little bit late. I think you really want to start over the summer before your senior year, and I like for people to be done with the personal statement and anything that's due October 15th or November 1st before they go back to school. Just get it off your plate. And then EAED deadlines, October 15th or November 1st or some November 15th. The early decision and early action results usually come back early to mid-December. Don't wait to work on the rest of the applications until those results come back. One, if you don't get what you want, you're going to be in a really bad mood. You're really not going to want to work on any additional essays. So save yourself the extra strife of having to work on more essays when you're disappointed and also during the holidays. And you really don't have that much time. So I always say, like, take out the insurance, do the work first, and hope that you get what you want and you get to rip up all those essays, and like throw them in the bonfire and have a joyous celebration because you did work you didn't need to do because you got what you wanted. More resources from college essay advisors. Go to the website. There's so much there for you to use. I love giving away free information. We have a podcast, we have a YouTube channel. There's so many different things that you can use, and obviously the book. If you need support, we have personal advisors that are happy to work with you. This is where to find us on all social. And if you have any questions at all, if you go to collegeessayadvisors.com, you can get in touch with us very easily. There's a phone number there. There's a contact form that you can fill out. We're really trying so hard to get back to people immediately just to try to relieve some of the pressure of this application process. And I honestly don't think it's ever too early to start thinking about this. So seniors, you're not late, you're good. But if you're thinking about this junior or sophomore year and you think you might want to get advice or you want to talk to somebody about just making sure you have mapped out the process as much as you can, it's really never too early to give us a call, and we're happy to talk to you about what you should be doing. That's it. And that was very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, questions? More questions? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, and amazing question, and apologies if that was confusing. I think when I say don't make it, what I was trying to say is not don't make it too polished, but don't make it too formal. This is not an academic writing exercise. You don't have to restate the prompt in the answer, for example, or like tons of the things that you have learned to do in school, you have to almost unlearn to do this, because you can start a sentence with but or and, or like you're going to break some of the rules to be a little more conversational. That doesn't mean it's not going to be sleek and that you're not going to like hunt down every single potential typo and make sure that the whole thing is like as clean and polished as it can be. But I do think that it can feel a little more casual just in terms of the tone. Is that helpful? Really good question. Anyone else? If you think of more questions, email me. info@collegeessayadvisors.com. Also, you can respond to literally anything on social and we'll get back to you. If you want to follow any of our accounts, you'll see a lot more of my face, for better or for worse. Thank you so much for coming. And again, if there's anything else you want to know, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I appreciate you.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you, guys.
I think Stacey will be here for a little while longer if you want to talk, if you have a question you want to ask her one-on-one.